Good day, everyone. Good day, Ma'am Don. I am James Riltan, together with my pair, Joanna Luz Marisa Bugaa, and we'll be presenting rheumatic heart disease along with its description, cause, nutrition-related pathophysiology, and lastly, its dietary management. Starting off with a definition. Rheumatic heart disease is a systemic immune condition that occurs as a complication of rheumatic fever, and this occurs after a beta-hemolytic streptococcal infection of the throat, according to Das and Kahneman-Tharidi 2023. Rheumatic heart disease or RHD is serious yet preventable public health problem. According to World Health Organization, it is a critical form of acquired heart disease in children and adults. However, it is most common in children, which leads to death and even lifelong disability. Rheumatic heart disease is less likely to occur in developed countries since countries with low to middle income have inadequate access to healthcare and unchecked exposure to group A streptococcus. Globally, there's an estimated 55 million and 360,000 lives are affected by the disease. And the burden of RHD is a reflection of the social inequities and failure in healthcare system. It disproportionately affects the children and young adults in their most productive years. And this is common in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Pacific regions. The disease starts as a sore throat or skin infections caused by a bacterium called Streptococcus pyogenes or commonly called as group A Streptococcus. It can pass from a person to person the same way as other upper respiratory tract infections. Strep infections are most common in childhood. The rheumatic heart disease is a long-term complication from rheumatic fever, which usually develops 2 to 4 weeks after an untreated or poorly treated group A streptococcal infection. When the body's immune system fights the bacteria, it can mistakenly attack its own tissues, particularly the heart, the joints, the skin, and central nervous system. In the heart, this immune reaction causes inflammation to the endocardium, myocardium, and the pericardium. But the most lasting damage usually happens in the um, heart valves. And over time, the repeated inflammation and scarring will lead to rigidity and thickening of the valve cusps, the fusion of the commissures, or where the cusp met, and lastly, the shortening and fusion of the chordae tendineae, or the supporting cords of the valves. These changes in the structure will result in a valvular stenosis or the narrowing or regurgitation or the leakage, which may slowly progress over 10 to 30 years after an initial rheumatic fever attack. Now, there are two risk factors of rheumatic heart disease, which are your modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. Non-modifiable risk factors include age, since these cannot be controlled and are only inherent by an individual. Second is the modifiable risk factors, which includes the household overcrowding, poor sanitation, socioeconomic deprivation, and lastly, the poor nutritional status or malnutrition, since these can change or addressed through lifestyle modifications and, of course, change in the environment.
I am Joanna Luz Marie A. Sabuga, and I'm going to report the nutrition-related pathophysiology of rheumatic heart disease. First is the several risk factors that creates the susceptible host environment. Children and young adults are the most vulnerable demographic. Household overcrowding, poor sanitation, and malnutrition are the key epidemiological drivers. Malnutrition weakens immune system, reducing the host's capability to defend against pathogenic invasion. When the susceptible host is exposed to group A streptococcus and the infection is established via inhalation that leads to JS pharyngitis or via skin infection that leads to impetigo. The pathogenicity of GAS is mediated by virulence factors such as M protein, in which these evade the immune system and establish a persistent infection. Failure to or unable to effectively clear the pathogen results to recurrent or prolonged GAS infection. Sustained exposure to GAS antigens, especially M protein, triggers an exaggerated immune response due to molecular mimicry. Antibodies and T cells cross-react with similar host antigens, leading to a misdirected immune attack classified as type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. The cross-reactive immune response leads to acute rheumatic fever, marked by systemic inflammation of the joints, skin, brain, and heart. Cardiac involvement, known as rheumatic carditis, is identified by Ascough nodules, which is an acute inflammation in the heart muscles, and Bacillum plaques, which is chronic scarring of the endocardium, especially in the left atrium. Over time, repeated episodes of ARF cause recurrent inflammation and healing through fibrosis, leading to progressive scarring of heart valves. This results in valvular stenosis, with symptoms typically appearing 10 to 30 years after the initial episode. This chronic valve damage defines rheumatic heart disease, which impairs cardiac function. Symptoms include chest pain, shortness of breath, swelling in the abdomen or limbs, fatigue, and irregular heartbeat. If left untreated, rheumatic heart disease can lead to serious complications such as heart failure, arrhythmias, stroke, and infective endocarditis.
For the dietary management, energy needs should be dependent on the patient. Too little can slow down the recovery, and too much can add strain to the heart, according to WHO 2025. Protein is important to maintain muscle mass and prevent wasting. For fats, it should come from unsaturated sources such as nuts, olive oil, and fish. Carbohydrates should come from um, sources such as whole grains, fresh fruits, and vegetables to increase heart health, according to American Heart Association 2021. Sodium restriction is important to manage blood pressure and edema. And according to Higher 2025, it should be less than 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day. Fluid management should be managed appropriately. And according to American Heart Health Association, monitoring weight changes can help uh, see the early overload of the fluid. And lastly, for micronutrients, potassium is essential in supporting the proper heart rhythm and also prevent the risk of arrhythmia. Lastly, both magnesium and calcium can help support the proper contraction and relaxation of the heart. But note that this should be monitored carefully since an excess and deficient can cause problems. And that's all for the rheumatic heart disease. Thank you.